pick up the last week's? It's in there.
No, because it was here.
WebEx, going to previous recordings, it is in there. I've shared it with about 6 people now.
Okay.
So I know you guys can go in because you're part of ECC. You can go in and share it. I have to do, if I want to share it with somebody outside of ECC, I have to go through a whole bunch of different stuff, but it should be in there. So we are recording. We are, okay. So I don't remember exactly where we stopped, but I think it was somewhere around here. Does it sound about right? I can't see myself, so I have no idea what's going on.
40 or something like that.
40? Okay, so we should.
That's what I wrote down for the last one, but it was something about T cells, so
Okay.
it's close.
Let me get rid of all this crap. Who invented Macs? They were out of their mind.
I don't know. I have one of my sister's Mac Genius, so I don't know. Like she works at Apple.
What? They're like, oh, it's the best computer in the world. You're gonna love it. Yeah, no, not so much. I just have to, like, everything is covering my PowerPoint right now. Can't get rid of it. Give me a second. Do you see all the nonsense, or you just see the PowerPoint?
I can just. I
PowerPoint.
see the PowerPoint in your doc.
My doc. All right.
Your bottom doc.
This
That's
doc. Okay. Okay. This X. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right, so basically, I'm going to ask you guys in your test, what's the difference between a B cell and a T cell? Is there any? Can you guys give me any off the top of your head?
T cell is a cell-mediated immunity cell, and it matures in the thymus versus the B cells, which mature in the bone marrow, and those aren't cell-mediated. Those attack the pathogens.
Wait, repeat that, Katerina.
Which part?
What part attacks the pathogen?
Of the B cell?
No. All right, you made the perfect mistake. All right, no, that's good. I'm laughing because it's perfect. All right, so a B cell, so B cells produce plasma cells under what condition? Gary, you can jump in, help her out. Don't leave on the bus
I'm
there.
trying. I'm trying.
Okay, don't worry about. Okay, all right, guys. So, all right. So B cells, when they're stimulated by a CD4 helper cell, the CD4 cell, the antigen presenting cell presents something to the B cell, the CD4 cell. The CD4 cell tells the B cell, listen, this is the antigen I came across. Now I want to stimulate you, Mr. B cell, and I want you to make plasma cells. Plasma cells make antibodies. Okay, so the CD4 cell is stimulated, it makes more B cells, it makes more plasma cells. The plasma cells make antibodies to that specific antigen. Remember, those B cells are floating around naive until they get presented with a certain antigen. Right? The plasma cell makes a bunch of antibodies, all right, which float around in the blood, and they attach to the certain B cells, all right. Plasma cells make antibodies. Antibodies are floating around in your blood. They attach to the pathogen. So B cells do not attack pathogens. T cells, when they're presented with the antigen, literally grab that antigen, they recognize it, they shake hands with the CD4 cell, they sign a contract and say, listen, okay, I understand this is an antigen. When I see a cell, HLA marker, MHC1 marker with that antigen on it, I'm going to literally attach to that cell and attack it. So T cells are hand-to-hand combat. B cells, plasma cells make antibodies. They float around. Antibodies do what we said they do: neutralization, opsonization. They super tag the pathogens for recognition by the immune system. Right? So please try to keep that in mind. B cells do not have pathogens. They make antibodies. Antibodies bind up, neutralize, and optimize pathogens so the immune system recognizes them and gets rid of them. All right?
Okay.
So cell-mediated immunity requires a direct involvement of T lymphocytes. That's cell-mediated. The T cells literally attack. T cells are hand-to-hand Krav Maga or whatever you want to call it, whatever martial arts you want to use, that's what they do. T cells act directly against antigen in foreign cells when presented in association with an MHC carrier. Remember, the MHC carrier, MHC1, is the same as an HLA marker. These are specific to your cells only. Unless you have a twin, your MHC1 markers and your MHC1 markers and HLA markers are specific to just you. All right. If there's a problem with that, then we have an antibody antigen. We have a problem with the immune system attacking itself. We have an what do they call it? I'm losing my mind here. We have an
immune disease.
Thank you. Yes, an autoimmune disease. Thank you. So T cells secrete cytokines that act on other cells. So from last week, cyto means cell, kines means a chemical that causes action. So T cells secrete cytokines that act on other cells. So they literally call in other cells. Remember, they don't have Wi-Fi or texting capability or whatever, so they have to send chemicals. These chemicals follow the chemical gradient. Remember, we talked about this. All right. So has anyone seen the movie Iron Giant?
No.
Jared, have you seen it? So at the end, we have that one little piece of the robot, and it's just sitting there, and it's sending out the signal, and the robot all comes together at the end, right? So that's what these cytokines do. They send out a chemical signal. These cells follow the chemical signal and towards the concentration gradient, and they follow the signal to come where the area of the pathogen is, right? So sensitized T cells proliferate into long-lasting memory cells, right? This is what we want with vaccines. We want the T cell to recognize anything foreign. So if anything that looks like that is any kind of a cell, virus, bacteria, the T cell recognizes it and attacks it. Let me see if I can. I guess I'm stuck here. Oh, I'm going to be able to annotate now. That's awesome. That's not what I want. No. All right. Give me a minute here. Why is this bar not going away? What? Can you guys see my bar at the bottom?
Yeah.
Only your dock.
Whatever that thing is called. Yeah, well, I can't get rid of my dock. You don't know how to get rid of my dock here?
I don't know.
You're a Mac expert, Katarina.
Oh no,
I'm
she's
an expert at by any means. All right. There we go. All right. I don't know what I did, but it worked. All right. So here's a chart. So remember the T cell, CD4 cells. Remember when in class we talked kind of about HIV?
Yeah.
What do you guys remember about HIV? How do I diagnose someone with HIV? As opposed to, all right, so someone is HIV positive. What's the difference between HIV positive and someone actually having the AIDS virus or AIDS, diagnosis of AIDS? So if you have a diagnosis of AIDS, your CD4 cell count is under 200, all right? Without CD4 cells, you have the CD4 helper cells. The CD4 cells triage the entire immune system. So without these, we have nothing for the antigen presenting cells to present to the CD4 cells. The CD4 cells have to tell the B cells, listen, this is foreign. We agree on that. The B cell says, okay, great, you're right. This is foreign. I'm going to make plasma cells to this. These plasma cells are going to make antibodies to this. And the CD4 cell is going to tell the T cell, listen, we came across this pathogen. We agree it's foreign. The CD8 T cell says, yeah, you're right, it's foreign. So whenever I see anything with that marker, I'm going to literally attack it, latch onto it. I'm going to cut a hole in it, perforins. I'm going to put some granules into it. I'm going to destroy that cell. All right. So the CD4 cell is literally what guides and directs the entire immune system. So if these are compromised or in low volume, the immune system is just standing around. It has no idea what to do. That's the problem with HIV and AIDS. So people don't really die of AIDS. they have complications due to AIDS because they have no CD4 cells. So these activate other CD4 and CD8 cells. They secrete interleukin. You guys remember what that does? Please, God, remember? No? Nothing? Remember? Interferon tells the other cells, if you're infected, I want you to go through apoptosis. So you become virus-producing factories. Right? Interacts with MHC2 receptors. Remember, MHC2 are the ones that present the antigens. You have antigen-presenting cells, neutrophils, macrophages, dendritic cells, right? Some monocytes, they literally present the antigen to the immune system. Because the immune system, they present it to the CD4 cell, and the CD4 cell activates the B cells and T cells. All right, your T cell, T helper cell 2s, all right, these derive B cell proliferation. They tell the B cells to proliferate, reproduce, make more plasma cells. All right, and here's the other thing that you kind of got to remember. They can dampen Th1 activity. All right, this is important because we want certain cells in your body to go and find cells that are damaged or old or not working. We want to destroy them. But if we didn't have something to put the brakes on, all right, they would be going in and destroying everything. All right. So another problem with autoimmune diseases, we have some cytotoxic T cells that go in and they just start killing everything. They become killing machines. So we need these CD4 cells to come along. They're kind of like the World Health Organization. They're kind of like what's the big organization that for all the countries get together and they decide policy. Yeah, thank you. Thank God you're here. I'm losing my mind. So they're kind of like the UN. They go in and they kind of negotiate what's going on. All right. So T cytotoxic cells, these are the CD8, these are the killer cells. All right. These are activated by the CD4 cells. Now, these are the ones that destroy a target foreign cell by lysis. So they have to find that MHC1 marker that the CD4 cell and the antigen presenting cell agreed on. So once they find that MHC marker or the HLA marker that's foreign, they agree, they go in and they kill it. Important destruction of cancer cells. So if the cancer goes in and changes that cell, it changes the markers on the outside, the CD8 cell says, listen, you don't look quite right. I'm going to go in and destroy you. And here's the key. It kills virus-infected cells. So if you have a cell that's infected by a virus, remember the cell has to attach to, the virus has to attach to certain cells by markers, has to get in, whether it's RNA or DNA virus, it has to get into the nucleus. It hijacks that machinery, uses that machinery of the cell to make more viruses. So if it makes more viruses, it changes something. We hope it's going to change the markers on the outside of the cell. And the virus-infected cell, the markers are changed. The CD8 cell looks and says, listen, that's foreign. I'm going to go on and destroy it. Or this is what interferon does. If it sees a cell that has a pathogenic marker on it, it goes in and destroys it, right? But here's the other thing too, we're going to talk about later. Graft rejection requires MHC for function. So if you guys were to have bone marrow transplant or organ transplant, remember your HLA or MHC markers are different. We go and we find as many markers, we find an organ donor that's as similar to you as we can possibly find, but your immune system, if it's working, is going to go in and find anything foreign about that organ, that bone marrow, that kidney, heart, whatever it is, it's going to go in and destroy it, and it's doing its job. Right? But that's why we give them corticosteroids. We want to depress that immune system. All right. So if you guys right now, if you're worried about COVID or getting sick, the worst thing you can do right now is stress out. If you stress out, your body's producing a whole bunch of cortisol, which is just like corticosteroids. It's going to literally depress your immune system. So the worst thing you guys can do right now is stress out. I know you have exams and you're starting to worry about passing the course and getting into your programs, but literally you need to find time to relax. The worst thing to do is stress out. It's going to depress your immune system and you're much more likely to get sick. All right. And again, are your T cells, just telling you your T helper cells, your cytotoxic T cells. Remember from that lymphatic line, I said everyone remembers T cells and B cells, but they always forget these natural killer cells. This is your lymphatic stem line. T cells cytotoxic cells, your natural killer cells, these lack specificity. They circulate to the spleen, blood, and lungs. And anything that's foreign, that looks even remotely foreign, they go in and just kill it. They don't even care. We want a bunch of these going around. Just showing you what I said before. So you have an APC. Does anyone guess what that is? I got all day.
Oh, that's one of your stem cells, right?
Well, APC is an antigen presenting cell. All right,
Yeah.
so those are your dendritic cells in your tissue. All right. Macrophages, monocytes, and what's the other one that floats around that can be an antigen presenting cell if it has to? What's the most horrific cell and the one that's the first time it's seen? That's with an N.
Neutrophil?
Neutrophil. Your neutrophils can be antigen presenting cells if they need to. This is just showing you the whole how they look. So here's your antigen. Antigen presenting cell is presenting it to a CD8 cell. That's your killer cell. They're agreeing here. The arm is coming over. They're signing the contract. Now the CD8 cell is activated. It knows what the foreign substance is. When it sees it, when it actually sees it on the cell, it goes in, it attacks it. Seeing the marker on here, attaching it. All right, it's going to cut up, it's going to poke a hole in it. It's going to vomit some granules into it. It's going to destroy that cell. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? So here's your cytotoxic T cell or the cancer cell. It's saying this looks foreign. It's finding a foreign marker. It goes in. It literally goes in and destroys it. All right, you guys remember we were talking about super antigens last week? I know I did because I reviewed the video. It's okay. All right,
A lot
so
of
we're talking about,
information.
all right, if we get to it, maybe not today, but next Thursday, we're talking about staph aureus and staph aureus or staph epidermis. It can make super toxins. They actually go in and they irritate these T cells, and T cells will go in, releases a super antigen. The T cells get fired up. They'll literally go in. We said before here, they find something foreign and they attack it. Well, if I give it a super antigen, it takes these T cells, it riles them up, irritates them. They literally go in any cell they come in contact with, they kill it.
So it makes them go rogue.
Yes, they go rogue. Absolutely. Nice. So it's a reaction has drastic consequences. So if you know anyone who has like a type 4 sensitivity, or has anyone here had poison ivy or anything like that? Okay, any of these type 4 hypersensitivities are T cells. Everything type 1, 2, and 3 are all B cell antibody related. Type 4 are T cell related. So if you have any kind of a type 4 super reaction, it goes in and just the T cells start destroying tissue. So psoriasis and eczema are types of this. There's T cells go in and they just start destroying the tissue around it for no reason at all. Right? So super antigens are a form of a virulence factor. So if you're staph aureus and you're reproducing on the skin or systemically, you can produce a super antigen. Every T cell in the area goes in and just starts destroying cells and your white blood cells, every cell around it. So this staph aureus can just start growing anywhere it wants. It starts reproducing. It's a virulence factor. It's a super factor it has. So it gets rid of all the competition. It can start spreading like crazy. An overwhelming immune response by a large number of T cells releases cytokines. Remember, these I said cytokines are chemicals. These cytokines, it brings all kinds of cells to the area, and then the T cells just start attacking every cell in the area. So it's going to go in, it's going to recruit all these white blood cells, all these helper T cells to come to the area, and it attacks it like a machine gun, just kills everything in its site. Causes blood vessel damage, toxic shock and multi-organ damage. So it'll cause your blood to clot inside your vessels, causes blood vessel damage. So everything distal of that doesn't get blood supply, causes multi-organ shutdown. This is why systemic infections of Staph aureus are so deadly. Staph aureus grows on your skin, and that's kind of normal. You want that. But once it gets through your skin or into your basement membrane, it gets into your blood. It can start reproducing in your blood vessels. It damages your blood vessels. It leaves your blood vessels into any part of your body, and it starts destroying organs and tissues and everything in the area. Not a good thing. All right, so just real quickly, classifying immunities. I know you both have taken AMP or you're taking it now. So they'll go over this again. So active immunity results when a person is challenged by antigen and stimulates production of antibodies, creates memory, takes time, and is long lasting. So I don't know if you guys are following the news right now, but they're literally finding out, I hope I'm right, but they're finding out that 38 to 50% of everyone presenting or everyone that has COVID has antibodies to it. They were asymptomatic, had no symptoms at all. They have active immunity to it. So they were exposed to it. They produced antibodies. The body took care of it. And they have active immunity to it. The body presented the antigen to them. They produced antibodies. They had absolutely no symptoms, signs or symptoms. They completely resolved the whole problem. So they're saying, like I said, 38 to 50% of everyone with COVID, asymptomatic, had no idea they had it, weren't even remotely affected by it. All right. They're also saying right now, the worst thing you can do is being quarantined with somebody who is asymptomatic and has this, because they're passing it back and forth in families. And if your immune system isn't functioning, they're saying this is where people are actually getting it. They're finding out in Germany and Italy and all these other countries, they're doing tests and they're finding out, I hope I'm wrong, but they're finding out that these people have active immunity to it if their immune system is working, but they're literally passing it back and forth in these sequestered families. Right? Just a little thought to think of. All right, so passive immunity, antibodies are donated to an individual, does not create memory, acts immediately in the short term. So let's just say that you had a snake bite or some kind of spider bite, and you didn't have time to make antibodies, because we said before last week it takes 5 to 12 days to make antibodies. We can give you passive immunity. We can take antibodies from someone else's blood. We have antibodies all over for snake bites, like I said, spider bites, or with something toxic. When we have antibodies to it, we'll give them from somebody else. And these antibodies, we said last week, they neutralize or opsonize these antigens and kind of neutralize them so your immune system can go in and take care of them. All right, natural immunity is acquired as part of normal life experiences. So either both are young or everyone in the class is relatively young. If your immune system is functioning, you're going to acquire these antigens from your antigen presenting cells to your body, and your body should be taking these antigens and making antibodies to it. So now you have natural immunity to it. The problem with COVID right now, they're finding out that this is a novel virus. So we've never been exposed to this actual form of virus since SARS or Mediterranean respiratory syndrome, which is similarly related. So it's not like a regular flu. Like a regular flu, most of us have been exposed to it year after year. So viruses mutate. This is novel. So we haven't been exposed to any genetically relative virus to this in the past. Most likely, unless you were exposed to SARS or MERA in the past. So that's why it's the fatality rate of this is almost 4%. Regular flu, it's like 1%. But they're finding out we don't have natural immunity to it because we haven't been exposed to it. So let's just say that, God forbid, in 2022, we have another coronavirus coming along. It shouldn't be nearly as bad because we will have been exposed to COVID-19 in 2020. So we'll have exposed to one of his cousins or second cousins. So we'll have some genetic immunity to it. Remember we talking about PAMPs, beginning of last class, pathogen-associated molecular patterns. So if we're exposed to some kind of a coronavirus before, we'll have some kind of molecular pattern that looks kind of similar, and we can start making antibodies to it right away. It won't be nearly as lethal. All right, that's the theory behind it. Now, artificial immunity is acquired through a medical procedure such as a vaccination. So right now, if we could find the antigen or a fragment of the COVID-19 and give it to everyone in the country, we would have been exposed to pathogen molecular pattern similar to the virus, and we could start making antibodies to it. It might not be the exact, like with the flu. Everyone says you get the flu virus. I personally won't, but you guys can do whatever you want. If you're going into healthcare, you may have to. But with a flu virus or artificial immunity, if you go in and we give you part of it or an attenuated part of that MHC1 marker or that HLA marker or any part of that antigen, if we give you a fragment of it and your body starts making immunity to it or antibodies to it, when you are actually exposed to it, you'll have some kind of antibody or partial antibody. Just remember we talked last week about epitopes. So if you have at least part of an epitope of a virus, your body can produce some antibodies to attach it to it, and we'll have neutralization or opsonization, and we can attach it and we can start killing that virus as soon as possible. Am I jumping way ahead? Are you guys following me at all?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure. All right. And there's just categories of acquired immunity. Like here's natural. I don't know how you guys feel about breastfeeding or whatever, but breastfeeding or with a baby, mom will give them IgA and partial IgG. So you'll have at least some kind of antibody protection for the first 6 months or so. All right. So Garrett or Karen, if you have a baby or whatever, if people want to come and see your baby right away, tell them get the hell away from my baby. Give it a month or two to get acclimated to your flora. And remember, people will argue with me all you want, but a baby really can't make antibodies or antibodies for at least 6 months. So vaccinating kids the first 6 months of life, I'm not all for it, but whatever. And if you're going to do it, do one at a time. Let's not give them group vaccinations under 6 months because you're just pumping this kid full of antigens in the first 6 months of life, and not, in my opinion, the best idea ever. But anyway. All right, so here's passive immunity. Immune serum globulin, ISG, gamma globulin contains immunoglobulin extracted from pooled blood. So like you said, if you were a snake bite or spider bite, we give you that immunoglobulin, it's pooled, and we hope that we can at least find something similar. These antibodies will attach to the antigen and make it bigger or more noticeable for your macrophages and monocytes to go in, attach, and clean it up. So things like botulism, spider, snake bites. Protection lasts for about 2 to 3 months, so that's good. Good that we have it. Artificial active immunity. All right. The person is material that is antigenic but not pathogenic. We want to just kind of stimulate that primary and secondary anamnesic response so that the person is prepared if they become across it. We have antibodies already in the system, and we don't have to wait that 5 to 12 days. We already have the recipe on the shelf. We can make that antibody as quickly as we can. We have the recipe, so we can make it in 24 to 48 hours, hopefully. Here's just talking about vaccination, right? You can do genetically engineered microbes or microbial agents. And we're recording this, so I won't give you my whole speech on vaccinations, but you guys can Google searches if you want, but there is not, as far as I know, as of last year, there is not one single double-blind study on vaccinations. That should scare you a little bit. You guys know what double-blind is? So I'm just going to leave you with that. You guys can make your own conclusions about that. All right. So they're talking about killing or attenuated viruses. So we want to go and we want to kill it, attenuate it. And the theory is we want to just take those antigen provoking, the HLA or those specific antigens that make that virus, bacteria, whatever foreign. We want to take that particle, we want to inject it and make sure it's dead. We give it that little piece so the immune system can grab it, say this is foreign. Now we want to present it to a naive B cell, and the B cell says, yes, I've been waiting my whole life to find that little piece. Now that I found it, I can make antibodies to it. Great. And now I'm going to put that recipe in the card catalog. It comes along again. I have the recipe. I can go in, I can make antibodies to that little specific piece. If we ever come across it again, we can make antibodies within 24 to 48 hours. Right? Just talking about live attenuated cells or viruses. The problem with viruses is, remember, we can't put them in a petri dish, all right? So we have, if we want to make them, we had to put them in something live, because remember, these have to go in and hijack the machinery of a eukaryotic cell, the nucleus, and hijack the machinery to make the viruses using our DNA translation, transcription. That stuff I made you guys learn, or at least I talked about it and you were supposed to learn it. Remember that part? So if you go in and you hijack the part of the nucleus, and we get those introns and extrons, and we export them to the nucleus, we can run it through the ribosomes and make the proteins and ship them out. All right, but if we can go in, we can stop that process, that's good. But if these viruses, if we can't make them in an egg or something live, we can't grow them to study them. We have to find something that's alive, so these viruses can go in and hijack it. And we'll see here in a minute, they use bacteriophages. You guys remember conjugation? Talked about that with bacteria. So we can go in and we can find a capsid or a bacteriophage, a virus that can go in, it can hijack the bacteria. It uses the bacteria's machinery to reproduce. And then as that bacteria dies, we hope another bacteria takes it in or attaches. We can go in and we can conjugate, or we can go in and have it change the capsid or part of that genetics, or remember those jumping genes, we can go in and we can have it go in and attach to that, reshuffle up the chromosomes, and it can reproduce. Right, a little bit more complicated than we need to know, but that's how it can be done. So attenuated or killed virus is the advantage of alive preparations. If they're live, if something's alive and we give it to you, it confers longer lasting protection. All right, so usually requires fewer doses of booster shots. So I don't know if you guys, when you came back to school, they probably wanted you to do some booster shots, and if you didn't, remember there's a couple people in your class, I had to go pull them aside after class, week 1 or week 2, and say, listen, you have to go report to the nurse because you have to have your booster shots. We have to boot you out of school, all right, because some of these don't last that long. Sometimes you have to go in and have a booster shot. All right. And disadvantages include require special storage. All right. These can be transmitted to other people by mistake. All right. And the other problem with viruses, they can conceivably mutate back to a virulent strain. So I'm sure you've heard of people who have gotten the flu shot and they say, oh my God, I was never sicker in my life, or they got the flu shot and they got sick, or something happened. Sometimes the viruses, if they're not completely killed, or so we have adverse reactions, sometimes viruses can back mutate. Right? So remember, viruses, what they do is mutate. That's what they do. Right? That's why we can't have a vaccination for the common cold, right? Because it's a flu virus and it mutates constantly, so we can't really get a specific virus or a specific vaccination for it. And remember, if you're getting let's just say they come up with a COVID-19 vaccination or a vaccination for the flu, they're going in, they're taking their 5 or 6 or 7 best guesses as to what it is, and they're going to vaccinate you for it. But remember, flus and viruses, they all mutate. So whether I give you a vaccination, now let's say you were vaccinated for the flu in November, flu that's coming out now, not even COVID-19, that flu is going to be significantly different than what you were vaccinated for in 2019 because viruses, they just constantly mutate. That's what they do. They constantly reshuffle their genetics. Right? You're seeing here, we can take antigenic particles, molecules or parts of an antigen, and that's what we want to do. We want to give it to your immune system so your immune system can recognize it and make antibodies to it. You find out whatever's foreign, say that's foreign, I'm going to present it to my B cells. If they recognize it, they'll start pumping out that clone of that B cell. Will start pumping out antibodies to that. And we want to remember, we want to make the CD4 cell is going to stimulate the B cell and the plasma cell to make memory cells. So we have the recipe and the file on the shelf if we ever come across it again. I'm just saying here, we can genetically engineer vaccinations. Right? We can do Trojan horse. We can actually genetically. You guys know what the Trojan horse was in Greek mythology?
Yeah.
Hide it into something, we give it to the person, consider it into a live carrier, and we hope it recombinates. Right? That's the theory behind it. Pass this one up. All right, so here's I won't say a whole lot about this, but here's some variety in current vaccinations. All right, you guys can research this if you want, if you have time or you want. But remember, right now, as far as I know, there are some places or some states that are vaccinating babies the day they're born. All right, so I personally, because I'm a hippie, I have a complete problem with that. You can vaccinate children one antigen at a time. I have no problem with that, but they should be at least 6 months old. Sorry, because your immune system's not even working until you're 6 months old. Now I've recorded that, so I'll probably get sued, but that's just my personal opinion. So I'm not a real doctor, but I do read. Okay. Okay. Never mind.
It's my quote, my senior quote. I'm not a doctor, but I can read.
I'm not a real doctor. I play one on my WebEx, but yeah. So yeah, sue me if you want, whatever. All right. So most are administered by injection, or you can do a nasal. All right. So what we want to do is we just want to give you the antigen in some kind of dead or attenuated form. So we want to, hopefully your immune system will recognize it as foreign and make some antibodies to it. That's the whole theory behind it. All right. So do you guys know what herd immunity is? You've heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my question. If everyone in BI 230 was immunized to mumps and I wasn't, and I walked into class and I had mumps, if your vaccination actually worked, what are you worried about?
Yeah.
Is that a fair question? So why is the state of New York or we won't get into political parties, but it's not the Republican Party anyway. Some parties want to force vaccination on everyone and school children. And if you don't follow their rules, they're not going to allow you into school. But here's the thing. If it worked so well, then if these people were Azakaji Jewish people or they were Amish, even though they're homeschooled. So if they decided that their religion said, I don't want to be vaccinated, right? There's some religious practices who would say, we don't take anything foreign. We don't drink alcohol. We don't take drugs. We don't take antibiotics. We don't believe in vaccinations. We don't want anything foreign forced into our body. If they're in contact with your children and your children are vaccinated and you swear these vaccinations work and they're 100% safe, what the hell are you worried about? If the vaccinations actually worked, you shouldn't be worried at all, right? The problem is, if the virus, mumps, measles, whatever, is mutating as it does, and now you're exposed to a different mumps, rubella or whatever, your vaccinations aren't going to work. So if your immune system's not working, you theoretically wind up with the affliction, all right? But that's herd immunity. So immune individuals will not harbor it, reducing the occurrence of pathogens, all right? That's not true, because if there was something that mutated, your immune system won't recognize it, catch it anyway. They're just saying, well, if everyone's vaccinated, the likelihood that we wouldn't have 50 people in the classroom having it, we only have 2 people in the classroom having it. Right? So that's the whole herd immunity theory. Right? So less likely that non-immunized people will encounter the pathogen. And let's be serious. So if you were immune compromised or elderly, something, if you had an organ transplant, you were on some kind of corticoid drugs to depress your immune system so you wouldn't attack your organs. Yeah, obviously you can't be immunized. So that's true. All right. But my whole theory is if your vaccinations work so well, why are you worried? Kind of
I
my
understand the concept, but now I take science classes, so I understand the whole mutation thing and how it's
Yeah.
so like the flu vaccine, like I understand why people would get it, but now I understand like the whole mutation aspect and how kind of almost irrelevant it is.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to change your guys I just want you. So here's the thing: you're adults and you're intelligent, so you can make your own decisions. So, but if they're saying, well, if you don't get the flu vaccination, you can't come to work, or if you don't, whatever, you can't come to work, it's fine. But you know what? I guess my theory is, not to get off my pulpit here, but I grew up on an organic farm, all right, and we didn't believe in all that stuff, and I literally have never been sick a day in my life. I can't even lie about that. I'm superhuman, maybe I'm a vampire. I don't know what it is, but I'm just saying, like, I am never getting the flu vaccination unless I'm so weak I can't fight you off. You can inject me with whatever you want, but that's my whole theory. Anyway, I'm recorded. I'm probably going to be fired and sued and whatever. It's okay.
Politicians and lawyers.
Huh?
Politicians and lawyers.
Yes. So here's the scary thing. I mean, this is old. All right. Recommended immunization schedule, United States 2010. So this is 10 years old. But literally, I'm not crazy. Like they're vaccinating children at birth for hepatitis B. Okay, well, as far as I know, that is either blood or sexually transmitted. So I don't know what you're worried about unless you're going to be eating off your baby or worse. Right? And just saying, like, here's a bunch of vaccinations under 6 months. Right? So yeah, pneumococcal pneumonia, that's fine, but keep your baby away from sick people. You should be fine. Right? And this whole HPV thing before the age of 10, well, as far as I know, it's sexually transmitted. So I don't know why you're vaccinating a child under the age of 10 for a sexually transmitted disease unless there's something going on nefarious that I don't want to know about.
The HPV vaccine also causes like cervical cancer, like different kind of cancers. So it's like,
Yeah.
Like I said, here's the thing, maybe I won't show this video, but there is literally no double-blind study on any of these vaccinations because if they actually did do the research, they would be accountable for any of the ill effects. Same thing with genetically modified food. If they don't label it, then if people get sick, we can't go back and say, oh, well, 80% of people that had the genetically modified corn developed these ridiculous food allergies, which is true, by the way. All right, so whatever. I'm recording this, so I'm gonna shut up right now. All right. Okay. All right, so I think that's it for this. Give me a minute. I'm gonna pop out of here and we start the other video if everything works. Address book coming up now. What?
yeah, we all know Bobby Butler now.
Bobby Butler he works at the border, so if you get stuck there, just say that Dr. Phil and he knows Bobby Butler. All right, hold on, guys. Give me okay, these top or bottom supposed to pop up. Apple. are talking to myself, a complete idiot. My dogs are used to me babbling, but you guys probably aren't used to me babbling.
See your 2016 tax documents.
He muted himself. Come on, we have lecture with him. We totally know. We babbles. It's okay though.
Nothing new.
Oh, we can see him now.
Yeah.
What is Hat movie?
That is a bunch of, I have like 300 different movies for when I go camping.
You take a computer camping with you?
Yeah, I play it on my screen.
It's called Glam.
Backpacking then.
Oh, I have an RV. Come on now. 40-foot RV. Come on. Don't be
It's
ridiculous.
not camping.
Yeah.
Oh, glamping, whatever. What the hell is going on? Are we even close to what's no, that's chapter.
I don't know how to teach this class.
Huh?
I don't know what's going on. I don't teach this class.
I'm not teaching it either, clearly.
Brooke left.
I need a
She's done.
10-year-old to come and show me how to do this.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
A 10-year-old to show me how to run a computer.
I had it all set up.
Dr. Phil, I'm afraid to ask.
Don't be
What's
afraid.
going on with labs?
Yeah, I knew. I was like, I can figure this out because I can only get into class now. I can only get into school on Thursdays. So even if I do the Enterobacteriaceae lab, like I have to inoculate on a Thursday and I have to wait another week to come back and check it.
You haven't posted anything, right, for labs, like other than the videos? Okay.
I may have to just do it on my own and not wait for Dr. Hoffman. So, looking for chapter 16.
Listen, when you're talking about the virus stuff, you could just say it wasn't you, somebody else.
It was somebody mimicking his voice.
Ventriloquist.
Wait, the video wasn't on?
No.
I couldn't see you.
Oh, that's terrible.
I could see your screen.
See me now?
Yeah.
Am I scary?
That's why Brooke
Yeah.
left. Just kidding.
Really? All right, I gotta. This is making me crazier.
Crazier.
I said. I knew I was crazy to begin with. Oh, we don't want to see that picture. That's me at Grossinger's. You guys remember Dirty Dancing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked at that resort. Grossinger's. They were recording when they were making the movie. Garage band. Fuck. I'm gonna back up and restart the meeting because I can't find the PowerPoint. So give me a minute, guys.
Okay.
Up completely.